Hello and welcome to Back to the Feature with Evan and Gabby, double features, double takes. This is the podcast where we talk about two movies, one new, one older, what makes them a good pair, and how the history of films influences the present.
I'm Evan.
And I'm Gabby. And today we are discussing Wake Up Dead Man and
Murder on the Orient Express.
Two whodunit films starring masterclass detectives and casts of characters who keep you saying Scooby-Dooby-Doo? Question mark?
Yeah, he goes Scooby-Dooby,
yeah,
Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
If it wasn't for those meddling kids.
Yeah, mysteries abound in these movies. And if you're curious, this is the 1974 adaptation of Murder on the Orient Express, not the more recent Kenneth Branagh one, which I have seen, and we'll definitely talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
I saw it on my laptop. I really sought it out.
I feel like that is the way to watch that movie. I feel like the Kenneth Branagh, Agatha Christie movies are like great plane movies, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like to just dial it up on your iPad on the plane, though that's where those are best enjoyed.
Ooh.
In a theater, a little dicey.
Little dicey. The crowd's not really vibing with it, huh?
Except for when I saw Haunting in Venice, again, in theaters, I was so drunk and I had an amazing time.
Oh my god. Well, speaking of theaters, let's talk about some movie news. The Warner Brothers acquisition saga continues. It's been a few weeks since we released an episode, and in that time, a lot has happened. Netflix basically was like, we're in. This is the bid. It's $82.7 billion for Warner Brothers Studio and HBO Max. And it was kind of seemed like it was a done deal as far as the companies like shaking hands on it. And then the following day, Paramount came in with $108 billion hostile bid, as it's been phrased in the press, which would be for the whole thing, including the cable TV networks, right? This is I think maybe part of the deal that people may be forgetting. It's not just the movie studio; it is potentially these TV networks that may or may not be split off, which we've talked about in previous episodes.
Right, and I do think that the TV networks are kind of like the icing on the cake for Paramount specifically. Yeah. I think that's the Paramount bid is more so about specifically wanting CNN and certain cable news packaging options than it is about the movie studio, whereas I do think that the Netflix bid is more so about owning the movies and solidifying Netflix as a huge studio and a real, force in the industry, in industry history, in film history. I think that Netflix, it's pretty apparent that they're thirsty for that like prestige, for as successful as they are in what they do. They make it pretty clear every year when they have like a million Oscar contenders and like they're still trying to win Best Picture to no avail. Like it's pretty obvious. And I think that this is just like another case of like them trying to solidify their place in Hollywood history. But I don't know. It still doesn't seem like it would be for the best. Right now, both of those deals are like on the table, but Netflix's CEO Ted Sarandos insists that this is a done deal on the Netflix Warner Brothers end and that he's not concerned about the Paramount counter offer at all. I'm not sure. We could see that maybe a world where this is a good question for you, I guess. Do you think we could see a world where Netflix buys Warner Brothers and Paramount buys HBO Max, CNN, like if it does get split up?
Well, I don't think it would get split up in that sense, right? Like Netflix would still retain HBO Max. Like the split, the cable network is I feel like the Discovery portion of it, so to speak, right?
Correct.
But
Right.
I mean,
You're
there
right.
could be a world, right, where all the deals get like fuzzy again if there's like, more pressure from the government to change things up, for things to not feel like so much like a monopoly or like antitrust violation, so that maybe that could be the case, right? Maybe Paramount could walk away with HBO and HBO Max. It would be very
Yeah,
funny to
I wouldn't
have to
be
visit Paramount Plus
surprised.
to watch this Succession, the
Oh
final
my
season of
God.
Succession, to see this kind of play out on the show too.
I know. But yeah, I could see that happening. Because I do think that for Netflix they are more focused on the film side of things.
Hmm.
I'm sure that owning HBO would be nice for them. I mean, they do already have a partnership with HBO currently where they are airing some HBO shows
Hmm.
on Netflix, and that we're seeing older HBO shows kind of have a second life on Netflix. This
Hmm.
happened a few months ago with Insecure. It's happening right now with a few different shows, and it's already in place for them and to have some of HBO. But you're right, maybe the cable networks will be part of the deal for Paramount.
Yeah, and Netflix is like frankly
What
not interested in those things, right? Like like you said, they
No, or
want
so
this
they
film.
claim.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, they didn't make an offer for
they
Discovery. It's not part
they did
of
not.
this initial bid.
No,
Um,
they don't seem interested in that at all. But you know, Netflix is still Netflix. Like they are not, all of a sudden going to be theater friendly. They have kind of issued a statement after the initial uproar from a lot of prominent folks in Hollywood about their concern over the theatrical experience, saying that they would keep the current slate, but likely they admitted that over time their theatrical windows for Warner Brothers films under Netflix would become more consumer friendly, which according to Ted Sarandos means put them straight on Netflix. And, we talked about this a little bit, but I mean, the sad part is that he's not wrong. Like the consumer kind of is at home on their couch watching movies. And a lot of people don't want to, venture out to, see a movie in a certain format the way that we do, or pay money to go see a movie that they can, see in 2 weeks on their couch. And, who can blame them in a certain sense? Like, we just really love
mhm.
this medium and this format. But for people who are just like, I just want to watch a movie, I kind of get it. But, it makes me really sad to know that, like, not only would theatrical windows be shortening, but and theaters would be suffering, like theater chains, but also like all of these like smaller theaters like that are struggling to stay open as is would just like shudder. Like that's not going to be an experience anymore if this comes to fruition.
Yeah, there's a long form article that's been going around. Is it the Ankler and Letterboxd, or it's a co-production
There's
of,
something about
yeah, it's
yeah.
a co-production between two outlets. I'll try to find it and link it in the maybe I'll throw up a picture right here and I'll link it in the show notes, so to speak. But
Yeah.
there's a reporter went out and went and saw movies, I think maybe in all 50 states, or at least traveled the country to
Oh
look at
wow.
smaller movie theaters, right? And one of the kind of headline points of that I remember reading was that like some of these smaller theaters need to play big movies because they need to ensure that they can get relationship, the relationship with the studios. They can continue receiving these big movies, even if maybe the community might not be responsive to it. Or in the case of something like they specifically said at Tron Ares, I think the theater owner who watched it was like, oh no, this is going to flop, but it's going to be stuck in my theater because I have to run it for the time that the studio is telling me to run it for, so I can keep getting more movies. And that's a shame, right? Like, Gabby and I, we live in Los Angeles. We're spoiled for choice with theaters, with formats, with the number of screens at a theater. So many places
Yep.
around the country that if you do have access to a movie theater at all, it might only be a few screens, if not just like one screen. And the variety of programming is likely going to be highly dependent on showing those big movies. And so it is a really interesting case scenario where it's like, yeah, people could just watch at home if the alternative is watching a bad movie, and that's the only thing that's going to play in that theater for X amount of days, right? The current, the average,
And if it's just like expensive, like going to the
yeah,
movies is expensive. If you're not like committed to it, if you don't have one of these, like, you know, the A-list package or something that
hmm
you're taking advantage of, like going to the movies is a lot of money
yeah,
for normal people, especially, you know, think about it, a date night, you need a babysitter, you need dinner, you need you know, concession stand, you need like just like as normal people, that's what most people need to go to the movies. And tickets are, you know, approaching, you know, $20
hmm
a ticket in a lot of places. That isn't, it's more in Los Angeles, obviously, but I went to the movies recently in scenic Middletown, Delaware, where my parents live. And I went with a bunch of my cousins to see Zootopia 2,
hmm
box office bomb, like bombshell, not bomb, like
yeah,
like wow. Um, and it was absolutely packed, and like Zootopia 2 was the hottest ticket in town there.
yeah,
But I like even there, like in a small area, like the movie ticket was $15.
hmm
And I was like, if you have two kids, two adults, you gotta get concessions, like all of that adds up.
yeah,
And the fact is most people would probably rather just pay a subscription fee and watch it in, you know, a month when it hits Disney Plus. Or Disney has been keeping their release windows a little bit longer to
hmm
juice that box office, and I think that is because they know that there's a lot of box office behind family
yeah.
friendly films, but which is
Or
smart,
like, you know,
but
four quadrant films in general, right? Like any of the Marvel movies that are like supposed to be
right.
four quadrant, like these big kind of quote unquote tent poles. You know.
Yeah, and the big test I think coming next year for Netflix theatrical releases is going to be Greta Gerwig's Narnia, which
hmm
is in collaboration with IMAX. So not necessarily a, this is kind of how she got around it, in that it's not necessarily a straight Netflix release, but a pairing, like a partnership with IMAX. And I don't know, like I think that is a family movie. It's family friendly. It's coming out Thanksgiving of next year. If that makes a ton of money for IMAX and theaters, you know, is Netflix going to see the light and be like, "Okay, yeah, you can do both. Like you're leaving money on the table by
Yeah.
not giving theaters these
I
movies."
think that's the hope, right? Like prior to the this bid coming in and Netflix being declared the winner for 24 hours. Um that was what I was saying on the podcast, right? Like I am verbally on record of saying like I would prefer Netflix do it because just in the, you know, reporting that we've done, we're seeing Netflix lean into these theater things and these theater things being successful. Like the Stranger Things tickets, a lot of showings have sold out, I believe, around the country because
Oh,
people want to
yeah.
see this finale. And I do think it
Mhm.
becomes, this is, you know, as much as it is like the average theatrical window right now is 30 days, right? In the US at least.
Mhm.
And if Ted Sarandos is saying let's make them shorter, you're only going to drive that exclusivity up, which means you're almost going to get like every seat guaranteed filled in a weird way, right? Like it's the same thing when the first initial round of 70 millimeter Sinners tickets went out, and it was like, who
Mm.
knows, this might only be in theaters for 2 weeks or even 1 week. Sometimes these 70 millimeter specialty releases, that's the hardest ticket to get in town. Everything sold out, you know. Like I tried to transfer a ticket to a friend in the middle of the day and someone sniped it immediately. So
Ooh.
I was like, oh my god, this is tough, you know. So all that being said, right? Like on the, I think I am hopeful that Netflix will see a possibility that like if they win this, that there is still a world for theatrical, because we believe in it, you know.
Yeah, we do. I just don't have any faith in Ted Sarandos after he like made an insane comment this week that was something like, my son watched Lawrence of Arabia on his iPhone and said it was no big deal or something. And I was like, why would you say that out loud?
Yeah.
You're trying to buy one of the oldest movie studios in the world and gain some respect from people who are against this deal, and that's that's your like your talking point, you know, like your snippet that's gonna get clipped for the press.
Yeah.
I don't have much faith in him, but I do have faith that like there is going to be a lot of uproar and backlash of like directors who don't want to make things for Netflix if they're not going to have theaters at all.
Yeah.
We're already seeing that. We see the pushback on like larger directors that are like Guillermo del Toro, who's like, sorry, you have to put Frankenstein in theaters for like 2 weeks, or even if it is only 2 weeks. You know, I think we're going to start to see a lot more of that if this deal does go through.
Again, some of that has to do with awards considerations, right? Like movies have to be in theaters for a certain amount of time to be considered for Academy Awards. And if the Academy doesn't budge on that, Netflix is still going to have to abide by that regardless.
That's true. We will always be able to, again, as privileged Los Angeles moviegoers, we will always be able to see these movies in theaters. That's the fact, is that like we will be able to go to the Egyptian, we'll be able to go to the Vista, any AMC, any Regal, like, and see a 70 millimeter screening or an IMAX screening. You know, we are spoiled.
Yeah.
But what concerns me are the people in places like Middletown, Delaware, who have like smaller theaters that we're already seeing the prices of tickets creep up and, you know, don't have that same premium experience for the money. You know, is it going to still be worth it for those people to go to the theaters if their movie that they want to see is going to be out, you know, in their living room in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
That's what worries me.
Yeah. And
it's keeping me up at night, Evan. But it'll keep in my head. It might keep me up for a lot longer because we don't know when this deal might close.
Yeah.
We don't know if and when it will close. It might take years. It very likely will take years. And we could even see this blend or bleed into the next presidential administration. Like this could be not Trump's problem. Trump has made some comments about this deal. And how shocker he is pro the Allison family and Paramount. So shocking. But it might not even, you know, come to fruition.
I mean,
until
it's going to get stalled by the holidays right now, right? But Paramount clearly like doesn't want to go down without a fight. They said that they would, as a studio, release 30 titles theatrically every year if they were to acquire Warner Brothers. So yeah, we're going to see this go on for a long, long time. We're going to be covering this on the pod in 2028. I know. It's never going to end. I'm going to make you clip this in 4 years. I'm going to make you clip this and be like, we're still talking about this merger. But hey, speaking of Netflix movies that we did see in theaters, let's talk about Knives Out 3, Wake Up Dead Man. Evan, how did you see this movie? I saw it at the Alamo Drafthouse. There's one location in Los Angeles. It's in downtown. It's at The Block. Saw it on Black Friday, so the day after Thanksgiving. It was quite crowded. I think one thing about the Alamo is that the theaters aren't very big, so seats do go pretty quickly, especially for exciting movies. Played really great in a crowd. I have gone to the Alamo twice in very recent succession. And the Alamo is a little pricey ticket-wise and pretty pricey food-wise, but that's kind of the big draw of the Alamo. And I have a lot to say about the food. You do. And I'll let you do it because I too saw this movie at the Alamo Drafthouse on a different day, also at the Block, and I ordered food. So it seems like we have different opinions about the concessions offerings. Yeah, and credit to Rian Johnson, the director of the film. Obviously, he's been really pushing for people to go watch this theatrically. Like every day he'll post on Instagram, go watch it in a theater. Even when it was on Netflix, he's like, it's out on Netflix, hooray! But also, you can still watch it in theaters. You can still go to a theater. Yep. So if you're lucky enough to do so, please do it. But what did I get this day? I got chicken tenders and a beer, and I thought the chicken tenders were fine. Rookie mistake. And then I went the next week for Kill Bill: The Whole Bloody Affair. I did end up going. And you would think, right, that's a 5-hour movie with an intermission. That's kind of the perfect time to go to the Alamo. because you can't get food, and you can get a lot of food if you would like. You get some drinks and all this. I maybe had one of the worst burgers in my entire life at the Alamo Draft House. And I was just like sitting there. I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe the food's off. I got some of the churro popcorn. That was bad. And I was like, man, I really want to love this place because the vibe is so cool. But the food, it was tough. And the food was the big draw when we first moved here.
That's true. I mean, I still think the food there is better than anything you're going to get at AMC
That's
or Regal.
True.
Which,
yeah.
I will say for the umpteenth time, if they're listening, AMC theaters, please step up your popcorn game. That is absolute slop, and I will not pay for your popcorn pass, no matter how many times you advertise it to me. But I got I think you made a rookie mistake in getting a burger at the Alamo Draft House. I think you got to get something a little simpler. I got it, for example, during Wake Up Dead Man, I got my favorite meal at the Alamo, the grilled chicken club sandwich. Has some cheese, some avocado, some bacon. Delicious. Fries on point. Had a cold brew. I have some notes on their coffee offerings, but that's about it. I also believe that all movie theaters should offer coffee.
Yes.
Like multiple kinds
I
of coffee.
100% agree with that.
So much. Like, and AMC has started doing this, but they only have like the kind of coffee that's like 300 calories and just all sugar. And I'm like, that is respectfully not what I mean by coffee.
Do they only have that at the Universal City Walk one?
No, they have it at Burbank now.
My life
and they
has
have it
changed. I've been changed for good.
They have it at Glendale because they have it at Glendale allegedly. But when I went to see Wicked for Good and I was like, please give me coffee, they were like, we're out. And I was like, what do you mean you're out of coffee?
Yeah, I had to wait for the barista to come back at Universal City Walk. And I was like, you know what? I'm not getting coffee. I'm just going to get a soda instead. Oh, okay. So off mic, you said it was the fried chicken sandwich. So you're saying the grilled chicken sandwich at the Alamo?
Yes.
All right.
Grilled chicken sandwich.
I'm gonna give the Alamo one more chance. The next time I go to the Alamo, I will get a grilled chicken sandwich and I'll report back.
I'm waiting patiently. I hope it's when you see Marty Supreme.
Oh my god.
But I thought that my theater was also pretty crowded, and I went on a weekday afternoon. So there's definitely were people out for it. I sat next to a woman who was incredibly amused throughout the entire screening. Incredible. I love watching movies with people who react to everything. Yeah, it's still out in theaters, but it is on Netflix. Wake Up Dead Man, the third film in the Knives Out trilogy, is premiered September 6, 2025 at the Toronto International Film Festival, was released in limited theaters on November 26th, and started playing on Netflix December 12th. This film was directed by Rian Johnson, written by Rian Johnson, produced by Johnson and Ram Bergman, not Ron Burgundy, as I thought when I first read that name. And starring an ensemble cast of Daniel Craig as Detective Benoit Blanc, Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney, Daryl McCormick, and Thomas Hayden Church.
What a cast.
Real murderer's row, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, truly.
Just to give a small summary of this film, although this will not be spoiler fill the summary. What do you think?
I don't think this has spoilers in it, what I wrote. Oh, okay. No, I guess it is. No, yet. I mean, I guess it see,
that's what I mean. Yeah. I'm reading it and I'm like,
all right,
should
okay.
I do spoiler? Okay, Spoilerville, Population U.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie's on Netflix now, so you literally have no excuse. You should go watch it. Oh boy. So this movie follows church pastor Monsignor, emphasis on the Monsignor, Wicks's tragic murder in a seemingly impossible way, with the new assistant pastor Judd suspected as the murderer. Detective Benoit Blanc is summoned to investigate, and he and Judd find themselves untangling a mess around Wick's church flock, but a little bit more like a cult if you've seen the movie.
Is flock like an actual term? Like a
yes.
Okay, cool. I thought it was maybe just like a thing, and then I was like, they keep saying it. So
No, it's the flock.
yeah, got
That's
it,
what it's
got it.
called, Evan. I can tell Evan was not raised Catholic.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, truly was
it's
not.
okay. You were probably raised with a lot less like guilt and trauma.
I think that comes from a different aspect of my life.
Fair enough, fair enough. Catholicism just would have added like an extra little cherry on top
Yeah,
then.
thank God. Literally.
I really liked this movie. I don't know about you. I liked it a lot more than Glass Onion. Although this is still not quite on par with the original for me. I really we talked off mic about it because you said that you think the original Knives Out it was overhyped, and I really like it. Lots of Catholic symbolism and feelings coming back to me during this movie, but I thought it was really interesting in terms of its exploration and handling of different points of view on faith, especially Mr. Blanc's. I share his opinion that and his fascination that religions are just some of like the greatest storytelling tools of all time, and how those stories have been interpreted are not always in good faith and kind of turn people into against each other, for each other, like we lose sight of the story itself and what it means. And Josh O'Connor's character in this movie, Josh O'Connor plays Judd, a young priest that gets sent to Monsignor Wicks's church in a small part of upstate New York. I think that his character is just a shining example of good faith and what it means to act in good faith, to believe in good faith. And I'm sure we'll talk about all of the performances, but his is really what stood out to me. I loved his portrayal of Judd. I thought he stole the movie from Daniel Craig, frankly. This is Judd's movie.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, think that we can get into that a little bit more later because I really feel like the future of the Knives Out franchise, as well as this movie and the previous one, is they really aren't Benoit Blanc movies, you know. And I think there's something really interesting there. But yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying. I, as Gabby alluded to, I was not raised Catholic. I was not raised in any religion, except I did grow up on a street with 3 churches of 3 different faiths, which is really interesting. I went to a Montessori preschool that was attached to one of those churches. So I was introduced to I believe it was Catholicism, but I'd have to well, no, I was introduced to ideas in the Bible, right, at a very
Mm.
early age. But it didn't follow through with it, but was, around a lot of people who were Christian and Catholic, and was just I've always been fascinated by people who are raised in faith, and I as someone who I think I really identify with Benoit Blanc's like approach to this, right, where he's like, I believe in the rational. And I
Mm-hmm.
think for me, seeing those distinctions with or making that distinction about myself, but then relating it to people in my life or not in my life who are very much in the faith has always been very interesting to me. And yeah, I really like this movie. I really thought it was a great energy, great cast, really fun structure with that it comes back to storytelling, right? Like Judd is telling a story to us in the beginning of the film that Benoit Blanc asked him to write, and that helps frame this whole movie for us. I thought it was quite nice, a little maybe a little like screenwriting like
Mm-hmm.
flex, but
Flourish, yeah.
I was like it's pretty good. This is easily my favorite of the 3 Knives Out movies. I think something I really like
Really?
about Rian
Wow.
Johnson as a director, as a filmmaker, is that all of his films that I've seen, I can really feel when I think about them. I really think about the world. I really think about the visual textures of those movies. I think he is a really great director in that sense. I, for the life of me, cannot remember anything about the story of Knives Out 1. Like, that is how little of an
Really?
impact it made on me. Because I walked
Wow.
away from it being like, I think this was overhyped for me. People were saying this was like this incredible thing, and it just didn't hit for me. And the second one was the same way, where it was like, I think both of these movies really are just like money bad. That's the thing, right? This was
That's true,
this
yeah. The
movie.
theme is bad.
Yeah, This movie, I think, has some things that bump me ultimately, but I do think there's like this. It's so rich and is so layered in what is going on, and you could watch this movie and start pulling different things out of it depending on what the aspects of religion and faith like really affect you and like what you want and how you're seeing this reflected in the characters, not only just in Judd and in kind of like Benoit Blanc's acceptance of like this intersection and how both of these things can exist together, but also how the characters in this murderer's row or in this flock are also taking these ideas and the aspects of things that they represent within that. Everybody is in believing in a version of a faith and has a version of a belief,
Right.
and it's becoming something different with each of these characters. And I do think there's something really interesting about that, despite the fact that I think that this is not very, as our friend James pointed out when James and I saw it at the Alamo, it's not very much an ensemble piece as much of the other movies were.
Yes.
It's
I would
this
agree.
it's almost more like a buddy cop thing between Benoit Blanc and Judd. Which is not, I'm not opposed to that, but it is and maybe we can talk a little bit more like when we look at the franchise, what do you get when you quote unquote sign up for a Knives Out movie,
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I think that there is a lot more depth to this movie than to the previous two in terms of what it's trying to say. Like, this is a movie that after I finished it, I was like, okay, even if I had some quibbles with parts of it, this is a movie that had something to say,
Mhm.
and I feel like we don't get that as often as we used to.
And it's also really tough with a
and
mystery movie too, right? A mystery movie is so plot
so
driven.
it's like, right, this is a movie that like somehow like manages to fold a full and very complex murder mystery into like a very grounded kind of story about a pastor trying to break through to a group of people who have kind of been indoctrinated into a different version of his own faith, you
Mhm.
know? And I find that fascinating, and I definitely, this is a movie that immediately after seeing it, I was like, I can't wait to rewatch this movie. I feel like
Mhm.
there's a lot of layers to it that, are not even kind of visible on a first viewing, especially between Benoit Blanc and Judd. But
Yeah.
I agree. I think this one like changes the format up a little bit
Yeah.
in terms of like instead of being that traditional kind of Agatha Christie, like Benoit Blanc is on the case and he's gonna interrogate, he's gonna question all these people. It's very much like Judd being at his side and Judd taking the lead, as you mentioned, like he's writing this out as
Mhm.
is the framing device in the script. And yeah, I thought that was a really welcome change, and a really interesting way to switch up, people who may be feeling like these movies, any mystery movies, not just the Knives Out ones, are like
Mhm.
formulaic in a certain way.
Mhm. I mean, because a lot of them probably are likely inspired by Agatha Christie, right? Like one of the greats.
She's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the performances, but specifically I do want to highlight Josh O'Connor here because of what you said, right? He does steal the show in a sense. He drives this movie. The character of Judd is so interesting, right? Is he is a former boxer who murdered someone, and now he
Hmm.
has found faith again, right? And now it's being tested.
Right.
He
He's
punches
in.
another priest,
Yeah.
right? But now in this setting of Castle Rock, right? I think is the name of the town. Chimney Rock. Chimney Rock.
Chimney
There we
Rock.
go.
It's something rock.
He's
But
so he's being tested by the flock in Chimney Rock, right? And there's so many good moments between him and Josh Brolin, right? Brolin being this really antagonistic character who literally forces Judd at one point to put up his hands again because it
Mhm.
almost bringing him back to that former self.
Yeah, because he's egging him on the whole time. He's like getting under his skin. He's taunting him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying to bring out this side of Judd that we know exists and that he knows, is underlying and is trying to prove is the dominant part of Judd.
Yeah.
But Judd is fighting that throughout this entire movie, and he even says it. Another point that I thought was super fascinating was when he says, "No, I hated this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to kill him, but I hated him, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of glad he's dead." And I was like, "Oh shit." Um,
Yeah.
but I love that he, yeah, not only is complex, but you know, he's flawed. He's not a perfect person. He's a violent person, like he is, you know, or he was at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And we're asked to immediately, like, the movie starts with him and
Mm-hmm.
ends with him. Like, we are asked to get on board with him despite learning these things about him.
Yeah, and I think that this is something that I think Benoit Blanc, the character, does in all three movies, right? Is helps the character realize something about themselves. And I think
Right.
it's most successfully executed and has the most payoff in this movie, right? Because he is wondering, have I been faithful and can I actually be someone who leads a group of people like this, right? And it's about, I think, the journey that this movie takes us on, and we can talk about some of the specific, maybe some of the specific quotes I highlighted, but the journey that this movie takes us on sees him really building this confidence, building the skills and the belief in himself to be this figure for the community, that when it's finally time, I mean, it's very kind of like cheesily done, right? Where Benoit Blanc literally has to be like, do what you were born to do, be a priest. But it's
Mm-hmm.
so, I honestly think it's quite earned in that moment where
It is. It's cheesy, but it's not something that I was like rolling my eyes at, you know? Like, it was something that I was like, okay, it should be obvious to him at this point that this is what he is meant to do. But, you know, we're taken on that journey with him, and I was ready. I was there for that whole journey. You know,
mhm,
even, you know, we're asked to also believe that he's innocent throughout this movie,
mhm,
and there aren't really any times when the movie tries to wrong foot us, where Johnson is trying to
yeah,
say, "Oh, maybe he is guilty of murdering Monsignor Wicks," which I thought was an interesting choice. I thought that a different movie or a different version of the script may have tried to have, you know, trick the audience into believing that maybe Judd is not who we think he is, or is not, you know, this
mhm,
righteous person who has found faith. You know, maybe it's wrong, and I think that would have been an even more cynical movie.
yeah,
You know, it would have been a very cynical take, very dark. But we do learn that Judd is hiding something
yes,
in relation to the murder, which I thought was very, um, you know, was a good twist, but it
mhm.
was not asking us to believe that he actually killed him.
Yeah, it was a good way to inject a little bit of dramatic tension in for just a few seconds, right? But it did really help us move into that, because I think it does, that moment does absolve him of any, like, of any of the
Right.
audience be like, maybe he did do it, right? But now we know what
Right.
he's hiding.
And what did he do but try to, even in that moment, he tried to protect Monsignor Wicks's
Mutation.
reputation.
Yeah.
He hides a flask
Mm-hmm.
because he doesn't want these very devout and loyal parishioners of Monsignor Wicks to know that he's off drinking when he's not in the pulpit. You know,
Yeah.
when he's not given his sermon, he's getting drunk off, you know, off stage, so to speak,
Yeah.
in this little, like, this literal, like, a stone room with one entry, one exit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing else to do in there. And that is where he dies. And it sets up this fascinating take on, yeah, the impossible murder mystery of, like, how could somebody have been killed in a place with, you know, where no one else can enter or exit.
Yeah. I mean, as I was prepping the outline for this, I put it on Netflix, right, in the background, so I could, like, just, like, at least hear some of the stuff. And hearing the story again, I felt a little bit like Benoit Blanc, where, because he steps into the side room to fortify
Mm-hmm.
himself. I'm like, that's the line. That's where he
Yeah.
knows.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Of course. But yeah, it was just a very clever, like, character moment, both for Judd, for the
Mm-hmm.
mystery. And yeah, just to show us that, yeah, even though Judd, he hated Monsignor Wicks. Like, he was
Yeah.
he's really vocal about that. But he was still trying to protect him because he thought that that was the right thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And that just gets me more on board with him. I just like him more.
Yeah, and he also takes, in a scene that affected both Gabby and I very profoundly, was the scene with the actress Bridget Everett, who plays his character Ruiz, where Judd and Benoit Blanc are trying to find out who ordered a construction machinery to, take down
open a mausoleum.
Yes. And she is, it's a very classic, like, difficult customer service interaction. Maybe Louise is like a little bit, is a little slower and doesn't understand. She's talkative. She doesn't understand the urgency of the situation, right? But there's a moment where she asks him before he hangs up, right? And clearly they're trying to move on this because they feel like they've got something. She says, "Can you pray for me?" Right?
Can you pray for my mother?
Can you pray for my mother? Yes. Can you pray for my mother?
Who's dying and who I can't communicate with? Like, like she's in a place where I can't communicate with her, kind of thing. Like, and Judd stays on the phone with her for like what seems like hours.
Yeah.
It seems like it's portrayed in the movie as, Benoit Blanc is like inspecting the office and like doing all this stuff, and Judd is still on the phone.
Yeah, the sun is out, and then the sun is not out anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's implied to be that he was on the phone for hours with Louise, with this woman. And it's just one scene, but I was so moved by it. I was actually like struck by Everett as well, who I love as an actress, and who I thought this was a perfect like little stunt casting thing, a one scene wonder kind of role for her. If people have not watched her show Somebody Somewhere, you really, really should. It is beautiful and heartfelt, and it will make you fall in love with her more. But this moment was very affecting to me, and like just broke my heart and like touched me in ways that I didn't know that a murder mystery film could do, like,
yeah, it's a moment where,
damn you, Rian Johnson, for that. Damn you.
It's a moment where you see, I feel like I often have this problem in my professional life sometimes, where people ask me, they're like, "Oh, you do YouTube stuff, like, can you tell me about these things?" And I'll just like, in my head, I'll be like, sometimes like, "Oh, you could do this, or you could look at this thing on YouTube, or you could do this." And I like find myself maybe like, not fully confident that I'm knowing the thing, right? But when actually presented with a challenge, when someone just shows me something, they're like, "Hey, here's a problem on this YouTube thing. What would you do?" And immediately I just jump into, because no one's testing my knowledge. Someone is asking me for help,
right?
And suddenly I'm in it, and that's totally different. That's different stakes in this situation, right? But it's a moment where we see that this character can do it, right? He may not believe in himself yet. It takes the third act to get there, but he can totally be someone who is compassionate. And is in this moment is reminded, right, of like the power of being this figure for someone else.
And he needs that in that moment, but it is kind of similar to your example where like this flock, of devout followers is testing his knowledge and is testing his power throughout the movie, and is like kind of taunting him, not believing in him, doubting him. But when this character comes to him for help, he's there, and he locks in, and he's ready, like to do, what it is that he is good at, what he is born to do, as Benoit Blanc puts it. So yeah, I think it's by far my favorite scene in the movie, the best scene in the movie, followed by a pretty great twist about the whole mausoleum thing.
Yes,
is pretty great, but yeah. What do you think about the rest of the performances in the movie, though?
Yes.
Aside from O'Connor.
So I
have some thoughts.
I mean, I think let's talk about the ensemble, then let's talk about Daniel Craig, right? I think the ensemble is really interesting. As we kind of noted, this may be like the least ensemble-y of the three movies. They aren't really interacting together, so to speak. It's not as much of a chamber type thing, right? They're not really confined in one location. There's a whole town for them to move around, even though they are in the church quite often. But I felt like there's a lot of strong players in this cast. A lot of people underutilized. It's an
incredible lineup. Yeah. That's my feeling.
Yeah. Who would you say is the most underutilized in this cast?
Oof.
Or okay, wait.
Okay, best actor that's underutilized, like best performer, or just like, yeah, what do you mean by that?
I was gonna say, okay, let's rephrase it then. Who did you want more from as an actor? And then maybe yeah, let's start there. Who would you have wanted to see more from in from this ensemble?
Kaylee Spaney.
Yeah, I think I was going back
I thought
between
this was just kind
Andrew
of a
Scott and
thankless
her.
role for her.
Yeah,
Right. Andrew Scott is who I was thinking of because I think Andrew Scott is the best actor of this bunch that just doesn't get as much to do as I would like him to do. And I know that he is capable of like incredible things. You know, I've watched his films. I've watched All of Us Strangers. I know that this man is capable of depth.
Yeah.
And to kind of put him in this role like of like, you know, a sci-fi author turned conspiracy nut turned, you know, religious fanatic, is an interesting character, but we just didn't get much of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for the book that he was writing to play a bigger role in the mystery, and it didn't. But Kaylee Spaney also very talented, like a newer actor on the scene. But if you saw Priscilla, she's a great actress. She's got the goods. She's great in Civil War as well. Like she's been great in a lot of recent films, and I just felt that this role was not, you know, it was just giving her very little to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, like I feel like the most she does have is like her character introduction when she's just like she literally has to say one of the themes of the movie, which is like, isn't it like bad to use like to take advantage of someone's faith? And she's smoking a cigarette. She looks cool as hell.
She
and like
looks
that's
amazing.
That's her best line, I think.
Yeah, she looks amazing, but that's one of her only lines. Like I just don't think they give her very much. Like her role is much more that I guess it's implied that she gives a lot of her, like she's very wealthy and that she gives a lot of money to the church. But even that, I was like, is that going to come into play? You know, like did Monsignor Wicks like personally take her money? Did it not even go to the church? Like I was waiting for the twist. And I do think that there is a twist here among the ensemble with Kerry Washington's character and Daryl McCormack's character, which I thought was okay, but was not as impactful as it could have been.
That was something I struggled with, right? Like the twist of Daryl McCormack's character, Cy, is that his name, I think?
His name is Cy.
Cy Draven. Cy being Josh Brolin, Monsignor Wicks' like a son out of, out of
wedlock.
But and then the fact that he like is accepted so easily, and that's where kind of like I think those were I was trying to remember because I was like, I know I didn't like love this movie, and I was like, oh, it was that relationship, and then how we get to the point where Monsignor Wicks is like, all of you are evil and I'm gonna go run for mayor or whatever the goal is, you know. Because I just don't think Cy is really built up effectively enough before like when we meet him, you know.
No, but again, I think that could be like a whole sidetrack of the movie that like if they went, I see where like if Rian Johnson chose to go down that path, I'm sure that it could have been a more in-depth and impactful thing, but it would have taken a lot of time, I think, to establish. But that's kind of the reveal that didn't really work for me.
Yeah, same.
The reveal that absolutely does work for me is Glenn Close.
Yeah.
Glenn motherfucking Close.
Yeah.
What a woman. What a performer. I laughed. I was angry. Like she gave everything in this role. Like every specter of emotion, you know, like she is such a devout believer in Monsignor Wicks and such a believer that he's like a man of God, a servant of God. And she has worked in that church. She worked for his father. Like I think her character is fascinating.
Yeah.
I think that I needed a little bit more of her. And the backs, not necessarily the backstory with his father, but the backstory of her and Monsignor Wicks to fully have her reveal pay off.
Yeah.
That would be my note, but I did really enjoy it. And she comes back into that church and I'm like, this is it. I was like, you do not just hire Glenn Close and not like, you don't cast her and not give her this moment.
Yeah. What was the reason she had taken the poison because she felt guilty? Was that
she was guilty? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Oh, and her husband and
her lover Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah.
Who is the church groundskeeper. I want to give a quick shout out to Mila Kunis and Jeremy Renner, who are getting my Go Girl Give Us Nothing award for this movie. They're just kind of here.
They're just there.
They're not bad. They're just here.
Yeah.
The Jeremy Renner part also didn't super land for me, especially with him being a pretty integral part of the plot machinations, behind Wicks's death and his Spoilerville, again, Population U, rise from the dead, situation that happens. That didn't really work for me. I think that, and I don't think it's Jeremy Renner's fault, but I do think that it didn't land as firmly as it needed to be. And I don't know if it was just, we didn't spend a lot of time with him or what, but
Yeah.
It was there.
I 100%
Glenn Close
agree.
saved it.
Yeah.
Glenn Close, that scene at the end to me, like, she saved the day, came in and made it make sense.
Yeah.
And Mila Kunis is given what I think is actually a very hard role, which is just like the cop. Like, you can't really make that character very interesting. Yeah. So I do think that's a very difficult role and pretty thankless, but yeah, go girl, give us nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to highlight this tweet from a priest in Kentucky who tweeted at Rian Johnson. His name is Father Mark Bentley. He definitely saw the movie in theaters because they used this tweet in promotion for the movie before it hit Netflix. So Rian Johnson retweeted it, and again, it was used in the marketing. He said, "Just saw Wake Up Dead Man. Y'all got two things right I've not seen in a movie in a long time. What it's like when people ask you for your prayers, and what it's like to absolve someone who has caused you pain." And that second part is very much in relationship to this, that scene you're talking about, right? Where Glenn Close's character has been like really pushing up against Judd this whole movie, and he has to accept her confession, right? And he allows her. He allows her to pass on in a peaceful way, and this act of forgiveness. It was quite powerful.
It really hit me. That really worked for me. And again, I think, even if like the twist itself was like a little bit rickety, or, just like all of the plot machinations I had, some bumps on, those two performers in that moment, in that final scene, that like kind of revelation scene that we get, again, in like a clever twist on the genre format. We don't really get Benoit Blanc kind of sitting everybody down and saying, you did it, and this person did it in this room with this weapon. We don't get that moment in this movie, and I found that really interesting. And also, it's kind of a joke in this movie. Like Rian Johnson makes it a point to write in some dialogue for Benoit Blanc to be like, I love these big showcase moments where I get to be like, this one did it. And I'm like, I, as a movie, murder mystery movie lover, also love those moments. But I thought that this twist in which he Benoit Blanc throws his hands up and is like, I'm not going to solve this one, or I'm not going to tell you who did it, was interesting. Although you and I have a different read on that scene.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
The scene where where Benoit Blanc kind of says that he's not going to solve this unsolvable case and that he is
Oh,
going to let it
we
be.
gotta wait for the we gotta we gotta wait for the thing, the Murder on the Orient Express link.
Oh, okay. All right. To be continued. Let's talk a little bit about Benoit Blanc himself, played by Daniel Craig. We'd be remiss not to talk about him after discussing everybody else in this movie. But these movies are built around that detective character. He is our Hercule Poirot, and I think that is loosely what he's based on, the kind of character he's based on. And Daniel Craig has been pretty vocal about saying that he loves playing this character and that he will make these movies until he dies if given the opportunity. So I think that this is a lot of fun for him.
Yeah, yeah. I think I mean, he's always having fun in these roles. I feel like increasingly he's gotten funnier and funnier in each movie, the character. And I also feel like the
Yeah.
character has like taken a back seat more and more, so to speak, right? Like I think in Glass Onion, it was a lot of like letting this like Janelle Monáe like double character kind of like be allowed to flourish, and then in this one he's helping Judd step into this role. It seems like there's a lot less like active solving, you know? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I definitely feel that way, but I'm intrigued by, and I think that this is why the two sequels to Knives Out are lesser to me than the original.
Mm.
And it's mostly because I think I like that in the first one he's very actively solving this case. And at the same time, I think that what makes that script so good is that you don't lose any of the ensemble characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of those characters in that family feel real.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like real people. They feel deep. Like I know who they are. Like they all get their moment. I feel like even though he's taken a back seat in the sequels, we don't get those same moments from everyone in the ensemble.
Mm.
And I just think that that's kind of a shame, you know? Like I think that if you're going to have these ensembles, everyone needs to get their moment, you know? Like there's a reason why, like you were saying earlier, like when you sign up to a Knives Out movie, like you are kind of signing up for the ensemble and less. I think that is what we've shifted to. Like you are not as much here for Daniel Craig. You know, this isn't James Bond. Mm-hmm. You're here for everybody else. But I really like the Benoit Blanc character. I like Daniel Craig as a performer, and especially in this role. So I kind of want to see more of him. You know, I really liked him in this film because I felt like we were getting like more of a peek behind the curtain at his character. Yeah. Like a little bit more about his personal beliefs, which we haven't gotten in previous films. Glass Onion does in a very funny way confirm that he is gay and married to Hugh Grant, which I thought was pretty funny. But we get these little peeks at his personal life, you know? Mm-hmm. And this was less so his personal life and more about his personal beliefs and what drives him and, his rationalness, his reason for wanting to take on cases and solve things. And I thought that was really interesting, and I kind of wanted more of it.
Yeah, I do think if they make another Knives Out movie, it should go back to a little bit closer to one, right? Now that we've fleshed out this character a little bit more and seen this like more rounded aspect of him, I think we can go back a little bit to having that kind of interaction with the ensemble in that same way. Introducing the same level of stakes, right? I think that, I think an interesting distinction between this movie and the first two is that, like, there's no initial, on the onset, like, there isn't really a reason for any of these characters to have killed him, have killed Monsignor Wicks. It takes a long time for us to get to that point, which means we're just, like, there's no tension there. The tension is really just, like, well, we as an audience know someone would have killed him, and it's likely not Judd.
And we know that it wasn't Judd.
Yes.
I personally think that murder mysteries work better for me as an audience member when the tension is that absolutely any one of these people could have done it.
Mhm.
They all have a motive. And I think in the first one, absolutely all of them have a motive.
Yeah.
So I think that that's why it works for me. Like basically all of them, including the Ana de Armas character, kind of have a motive. So it's, you know,
and it's established really clearly, right? This is a little like Trixie in how it does it.
Right. And I get it. They're trying to change it up, you know, like doesn't want to be too formulaic, but at the same time, yeah, I kind of miss it. And I do hope that we get back to, you know, that more active detective solving in future iterations, which it'll be interesting to see, you know, if and when those happen. Rian Johnson has hinted that his next film is not a Knives Out film. So maybe he's taking a little break, but I don't know. I'd be interested. I mean, I think that this is definitely the kind of thing he could make forever and like people kind of don't get sick of. It's quite literally his own IP that he made. Yeah. It's his franchise. He does not need Star Wars.
Yeah.
None of us really need Star Wars. But yeah, I think it would be interesting to see it keep going.
Yeah.
And interesting to see Daniel Craig like even age into this character, you know, like get older as him. That I'm interested to see.
His next movie will be a Judd movie, The Church of Judd.
Church of Judd. You know what? I would watch it. I feel like I did feel on like a really personal level that Rian Johnson somehow like reached into my brain for this film casting. And he was like, how can I get this kind of audience member, this like lapsed Catholic, atheist, young queer woman interested in this film, interested in Catholicism? I can cast young, hot Josh O'Connor as a priest with a troubled past.
With tattoos.
With tattoos and like proper boxer stance. And I was like, yeah. In this movie, I was like, this is it. This is my church. Being at the movie theaters with a hot priest who's not actually a priest. That's my guy.
Yeah.
And Andrew Scott, the original hot priest from Fleabag.
He's passing the baton on, you know?
Absolutely. I will have a reading from the hot priest from Fleabag at my wedding, and you can hold me to that.
All right. Well, let's move on and talk about our next film. With our close personal friend Hercule Poirot is what Gabby wrote.
Yeah. He's also a close personal friend of mine. I love what they kept saying that in that movie.
Oh my god. All right, we'll be right back.
How many times?
All right, we're back. We're talking about Murder on the Orient Express, released November 21st, 1974, directed by Sidney Lumet, written by Paul Den, adapted from the iconic mystery novel by Agatha Christie, produced by John Brabourne and Richard Goodwin, starring another murderer's row of actors and actresses: Albert Finney, Lauren Bacall, Martin Balsam, Ingrid Bergman. Unrecognizable. For a second, I really didn't recognize her. I was like, wait, that's Ingrid Bergman? I don't know. We'll get to my experience watching this movie.
Was jumping out on this viewing.
Jacqueline Bisset, Jean-Pierre Cassel, Sean Connery, Anthony Perkins, and Vanessa Redgrave. This film was nominated for Best Actor, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Original Score, Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design, and Ingrid Bergman won for Best Supporting Actress. News to me, Bergman's third win and slightly controversial at the time, but we ball.
That is what I wrote.
That is crazy that she won. Because I thought that was, I think that she's maybe, that is like the second or third worst character in the cast.
Yep.
It's crazy. That's wild to me. Give it to the girl who played the sister.
I know, but they didn't.
Yeah.
We ball.
Also, I kept thinking was who Daisy Ridley played in the movie, but actually in the new one. But Daisy Ridley played the Ingrid Bergman character. No. Daisy Ridley played the secretary character.
Yes. The secretary who's in love with the Kenneth Branagh. It's Leslie Odom Jr.
Yes,
and in this one it's Sean Connery.
Yes.
Yeah. interesting. I mean, yeah, this movie has been adapted a few times, or this novel has been adapted quite a few times. But this is the original kind of iteration of it. And it was a big success at the time, as we mentioned at the Academy Awards, but also in terms of box office, pretty big commercial hit. You noted here that we can't really do a box office bet here because Wake Up Dead Man is ending its theatrical run tragically too soon.
It's anywhere between $1.5 to $3 million.
Yeah. That's pretty good for a Netflix movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Murder on the Orient Express did make $27.6 million in 1974, which adjusted for inflation would be a lot more than that today.
Yeah,
we didn't do the math.
Probably 100 million.
More.
Yeah.
At least 100 million. I think it's more like 250.
Yeah.
But in case you live under a rock and you have never had to read this book for school or watch this movie or, just
did you read this for school?
I did read this in school.
What, in high school?
Yeah, 9th grade.
Wow. I don't think that was in the New Jersey curriculum. Interesting.
Really? It was summer reading at the Catholic schools in Staten Island. So close to you.
So I know, just over, I
remember, summer going into my freshman year, I had to read Rebecca and Murder on the Orient Express.
I think I just had to read Great Expectations.
Boring.
It was. I didn't read it.
I've never had to read Hemingway, and I never will.
What?
I don't think I ever will.
Oh my god.
No.
I remember I was in Europe and I read The Sun Also Rises. I was like, yeah.
Fuck no. Couldn't pay me. But in case you had never had to read it or haven't seen either this adaptation of it or the Kenneth Branagh adaptation of it, here is what this movie's about. World-class detective Hercule Poirot finds himself aboard the Orient Express where a murder of an American businessman has taken place. Gasp! Given his personal relationship with the train's owner and the fact that the train has been stalled for weather, Poirot takes to the case of the businessman's murder, with each of the high-class train passengers questioned as they dive deeper into the rabbit hole of a kidnapping of a young girl.
Oh, yeah. It's... Okay, I couldn't remember if the Branagh film opens with this kidnapping story as well. Because it is crazy that they
I don't remember, but yeah, they do open with it here.
Do you remember how it's portrayed in the book? No. I'd love to know, because it's interesting because you can't watch the movie then without thinking about the kidnapping. So it's all related. It kind of shows its hand a little bit. Whereas I think in the Branagh one, I think I was very surprised about how it all ended up playing out. Also, full spoilers, because you can't really talk about the mysteries without, right?
Yeah, you can't talk about that. No.
But yeah, let's talk about the movie.
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic murder mystery to me. I mean, it's got everything. This murder mystery has everything. It has every kind of character, like archetype that you could want. It has a lavish setting where they're all stuck in one place. It has like intertwining, affairs and false identities and all these kind of things that are impacting all of these people at one very finite moment in time. Yeah. And that is what I love to see in a murder mystery.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cool, like, chamber drama in the best way, right? Like, I think admittedly, it was like a little hard for me to get into this movie. I just wasn't in the right headspace for it. But I think the fact that a movie can be as entertaining as it is, and the reveal still works, even though I've seen the Kenneth Branagh one, but the reveal still works of this mystery. And when the movie just built off of, all right, we do a little investigating, and then we just get one person, we bring them back into the same room, and that's like an hour. We do that for like a really long time.
Yeah, a long time. But it works. It works.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's where these movies kind of get that foundation from, is this movie. You know, you talk about that a lot as something that kind of inspired us to like start the podcast, is like watching where all of these kind of film archetypes come from. And I think that this is a huge like textual source for people who love murder mysteries and who want to watch them, write them, be in them. I don't know your life. But
one of the greatest tricks of this movie is that they are all connected and they have all co-conspired to enact this murder, right? And it just is truly by happenstance that a world-class detective is on the train at the same time.
Because he's a close personal friend. Because he's a close
personal friend. Had he not been there, this would have just gone to the police, right? That is like kind of like this ticking time bomb in this movie, is that like if the stuff gets cleared, they'll be able to go to the police and the police will be like, well, this is what it looks like and this person ran off and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where they really would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for that meddling detective, you know,
his mustache
and his gelled down hair. But I mean, the reveal at the end where you see the Anthony Perkins character like setting the clock watch back so that all of them have alibis at the time of this murder, and like they set this up. They thought this out. This was like a calculated act of revenge, you know?
Yeah,
and
it's
so
a really harrowing scene too. Like everyone going in and stabbing
and stabbing him.
It is really dark. I was quite surprised and honestly effective. I was like, whoa, this is like heavy, you know?
It is dark. And in this one, this version feels much darker to me than the Kenneth Branagh version,
100%.
Especially.
Yeah.
I mean, not only because I stand by what I said, those are plain movies, but the Kenneth Branagh one, the businessman that gets murdered is played by Johnny Depp, and you're kind of just like laughing as everyone walks in and stabs him. I'm like, okay, but and
I don't remember that even happening. Like, I don't remember them.
It does happen, but the way that it's directed is like, honestly, it's like corny theater kind of stuff. Like, it's not like a dark kind of like calculated thing in like it is in this movie.
And that's what I'll say. Like, there are back when I used to watch movies on my laptop a lot, I would frequently screenshot the movies of things like, oh, that's a great shot, and I would normally try to find one in most things that I'd watch movies on just to have it. And I know that there are a few screenshots from the Kenneth Branagh one that really have, I remember it's like, oh, that's a cool shot, that's the thing. But the thing that I remember most about that movie is this reveal section, but also when the cast of characters is standing in that like living room and the light is like flashing by, and I was like, oh that's kind of cool. But then I see this scene and I was like, oh, but that's emotional, you know?
Yes, there you go. Like, it's important to see the originals of things, people. 100%. I'm just gonna get on that soapbox, but the scene behind both of us is the example of that. Like, the prime example is like both of us have as our backgrounds like the same scene where Hercule Poirot is like presenting his case from separate angles, and like they feel so different, you know, like they just like looking at them feel different, without any context. And we didn't even do that on purpose. Can you believe it? But I do want to, speaking of how this is like the blueprint for a lot of murder mysteries, I wanted to, touch on how Poirot is a blueprint for Benoit Blanc and what you think of their similarities and their differences.
Yeah, I feel like it's really interesting to see this adaptation of it and realize that Poirot is kind of like a funny character, right? Like, I think Kenneth Branagh plays him a little like too seriously, or at least the visual texture of the first movie is very serious. Death on the Nile is like CGI slop, so don't whatever.
Ooh, that's just a screensaver.
Yeah, that's good. Get that on.
It is.
That should that
it's be, literally a screensaver.
Should we make that a hat?
Death on the Nile.
That's just a screensaver.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Or a mug.
That's our merch.
Yeah, that's good, Gabby.
But that's exactly what I thought when that movie came out, like during COVID, and I was like desperate to have a new movie to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I put it on and I was like ready to eat that shit up, and I just couldn't because I was like,
Yeah.
this looks like a bad Microsoft screensaver.
But yeah. Just to bring it back to the Poirot and Blanc's similarities, right? It does feel interesting that like they are both very skilled, but maybe present themselves as not being people who are maybe have it all together, right? Like
That's true.
I think like a lot of the in the Knives Out movies, I think a lot of people like definitely respect Benoit Blanc, but I think what happens is like his kind of over the top Southern accent for an audience. We're like, oh, but who is this guy? You know, and we don't see him solving anything anymore. But he's always thinking. He's always thinking.
He's always thinking.
Yeah.
They establish him so well in the first Knives Out with the Toni Collette character. She goes, saw a tweet and I read a tweet about a New Yorker article that was about you or something, and I was like, yeah.
And then in this movie, Judd goes, but you were on The View. Like as that exactly. That's the impressive thing. So good, but, so funny.
Yeah, it's we're brain rotting is what that is a sign of. Mm-hmm. Rian Johnson knows that we're all brain rotting.
Yeah,
but I think that's really interesting about Poirot as well. That this is literally he's just like supposed to be traveling. He's not supposed to be working on this trip.
Yeah,
even the businessman who gets murdered eventually, he comes to him and asks him for help. Is like, my life is in danger, and he wants to hire him. And Poirot is essentially like, nah, I'm retired. Or kind of like, no. He says something like, I have enough money already for what I need and what I want. I only take on cases that interest me or something. And so he takes on this case, and this is there's a whole series of Poirot mysteries that Agatha Christie wrote. A lot of them have also been adapted into films by Kenneth Branagh and also better filmmakers. But but he's a character. He's a long-standing detective character. He is also who the Pink Panther is based on, the comedy version of this, which is what my fiance said when she walked in on me watching this. Was she looked at Albert Finney and was like, he's kind of like a Pink Panther. And I was like, no, the Pink Panther is like him. I am an insufferable film douchebag.
I would pay to see Albert Finney say hamburger.
Dig him up.
Dig him up.
I think that the longevity of the Poirot character is really interesting, and how he kind of fits into pop culture even so many years later, and how Blanc is pretty much based on him. But what drew me to this as like the comparison point, this movie as the comparison point for I was gonna say Glass Onion for Wake Up Dead Man, was this idea of Poirot taking this case because it seemed impossible, and Blanc taking a case because it seemed impossible, and both of those cases eventually leading to them questioning their faith. Like, Poirot leaves this case questioning like his faith in humanity, and that's what it's kind of been held up to. Like, this book is kind of, at least the book is kind of held up as the instance where Poirot like cracks, and like where he like solves a case but it can't, like, it doesn't get closure on the case, like there's no person that gets arrested, really. Like, there's nothing, there's no clean closure to it. And Wake Up Dead Man, I felt that it was a similar, that this is what it was going for. You had another read on it, but I felt like when Benoit Blanc like kind of threw his hands up and was like, I'm not going to solve this one, this is between y'all, that he was kind of pulling at a similar thread. Not necessarily that, I don't think it's as dark or as deep as Murder on the Orient Express is, where like Poirot is like, this has I'm going to quote the Kenneth Branagh one now. because this lives with me, is when Kenneth Branagh as Poirot says, like, what I've seen here has altered my very soul. Like, I don't think that that's what is happening for Benoit Blanc, but I do think that like, not his faith in solving cases or something has been challenged, but his ideas of faith and his idea of, like, people who believe, like, people who dedicate their lives to faith, people like Judd, has changed by the end of the movie. And I thought that was interesting as a parallel.
Yeah, so you're talking about the moment. This is before Glenn Close is the reveal, though, right?
This is before the Glenn Close reveal.
Okay.
And then Glenn Close comes in the doors and is like, hold my priceless heirloom diamond that or gem or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just how I read it, but I thought of this scene that's behind us at that moment. I thought of, Poirot kind of like solving this, but being like, I'm going to let you guys live with this. Like, I'm going to kind of like give you the option of, like, you can say that the mafia did this, or you can fess up and, like, let your consciences decide. And then they all decide to, shocker, go about living their lives, kind of, and, blame the mafia. And Poirot has to live with the fact that he, the world's greatest detective, solved this case, but there was no justice. Or what does justice mean for these people and for the little girl, this little Armstrong girl who was the true victim of it all?
Well, and not just her, right? Like, even Poirot says at one point that this man has caused 5 deaths. 4 or 5 deaths, right? There are other people. It was like the parents, and then I believe, and then there's a one of the maids or something had died, right? Like, what? It's someone's daughter, someone's love interest, because she was implicated.
She was blamed for it.
Yeah. And so I think, so that's why I think we had touched on this earlier, and there was a little bit of moment of confusion, but this is the moment that we're talking about now, right? Of just like, I personally, I can see where you're coming from. I don't see that link in the same way, but I do see, like, the idea of, like, a choice from the detective and offering that, as I can see that link being made there. I think where I find it is a little different is that I think personally, at least in this movie, right? Like, I don't remember the Branagh movie at his reaction the same way you do, but it's
ingrained in me. It lives in my head. I remember, like, the mustache at that moment. My very soul.
I think for this movie specifically, I feel like Poirot thinks that first, the Armstrong case was messed up, and that he has seen that these people have taken an act of revenge, but also redemption for some of them, right? And this is the true justice that needs to be served in this moment, because even though they have done something they're bad, which is to kill a man, and honestly, you could be like, who actually did the killing blow, because there were 12 stabs or whatever.
That's true, there was a lot of stabbing.
But I think he knows that the greater evil is gone, and that like what has transpired here is something that is righteous, so to speak, right? That, like, this is a man who this is a man who had this coming because he had done so many bad things and was like a bad person.
Maybe, but maybe it's just because I know from other Poirot adaptations and books that like he is like very hell-bent on solving all of these cases. So I think it kind of sticks out
but you
more.
Say solve, right? He has solved the case.
He has, but it's like, this is not something that he's going to be able to be like, aha, and I have solved another case. Like,
sure,
no one's ever going to know.
Okay.
Like, this is just for him. And I think that, this is always kind of touted as, this is the case that like eats at his soul kind of thing. Like, this is the one that
because he can't reveal the true nature of what has happened, or because he chooses not to.
Right.
Okay.
That is his choice.
Okay.
But yeah, you were saying about Blanc's choice.
Blanc's choice, I feel like, is that as someone who is not religious, but I wouldn't consider myself an atheist, right? I would consider myself like fairly agnostic, like there's understanding of some higher power, higher connection in this world that, there's something, right? And I think in that moment, there's a lot of obvious cues that Rian Johnson is playing with in Wake Up Dead Man, of the light coming through the church and things like that.
Yeah.
And in that moment, right, he is about to deliver the monologue, and the light comes on, comes through the stained glass, and you feel like this is a moment from God or from another higher power where he can take a moment to be like, you know what? It's not as powerful as it comes from me, because I know that somewhere out there, someone else needs to arrive on this conclusion because it means more to them to have it. And in that moment, right, we have what we've been talking about this whole episode of like Judd stepping up to be a priest, as well as the incredible scene from Glenn Close, who is someone who has been so devout in her faith that it had led her to do something that goes against the belief system, right? And to commit a sin, really.
Right. To commit a mortal sin, and to also, Monsignor Wicks is not a great guy. He's also, not necessarily responsible for deaths like the American businessman, but he's not a good guy, and he's
corrupting
causing
belief.
harm.
Yeah.
He is causing harm, and he's corrupting these people's belief in God and in their faith. And I think that Glenn Close's character is so faithful, and initially, like, and once her faith in Wicks shatters, like a part of her faith has shattered as well.
Yeah.
Because she has been so devout. And I thought that was interesting. And yeah, I mean, as a moviegoer, part of me was like, okay, somebody's going to come through that door and explain the whole thing.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that moment just reminded me a lot of the Poirot, like, you guys have a choice to make moment.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. I can definitely see that, the resemblance there for sure. I don't think it still jumps.
It's not a 1-to-1, but that's what I thought of.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I think for me the two moments are a little bit rooted differently, but I do think it is both are done very well, right? Because I remembered that there is this option of a choice or something. So when I saw the way that it was done by Albert Finney in the role, I was like, oh, actually, that is really nice the way he does it. And then they all do their little cheers at the end, which is like really goofy. But it's nice, you're like, okay, they went through this ordeal. There's like, the
train keeps moving.
Train keeps moving in a weird way. It's like the end of Inception, when they all kind of like looked at each other, because it's all people who are connected
and
by
they're like, it was about the journey, it was about the vibes.
Yeah, they're connected by this one tragic thing, and now they don't really have a reason to, many of them don't have a reason to stay connected anymore, but like they have experienced this thing
It's
together.
probably better for them that they don't stay connected because of, the law.
The law, exactly. Yeah.
The law coming back.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some alt pairings as we kind of wrap it up here. I was like, pair it with Phoenician Scheme. Do it again. Do another Wes Anderson.
Do it again. Let's do the Phoenician Scheme. I'm in. I like have been meaning to rewatch that movie now that it's available to me.
Yeah.
So that would have been a good excuse, but alas, it is too recent. And it came out this year.
This year, yeah.
Rian Johnson also listed some movies that maybe inspired Wake Up Dead Man, or that he has listed as ones to check out. He's also programming a bunch of these movies at the Paris Theater in New York from December through January. If you're in New York and want to catch a murder flick, he has listed Calvary, Death on the Nile, and Evil on the Sun, which are also Agatha Christie's, as well as Gosford Park, The Hateful Eight, Hounds of Bakersfield, Ladies in Retirement, and The Last of Sheila. I think Last of Sheila is also Agatha Christie. So a lot of Agatha Christie here.
Yeah.
Hateful Eight was kind of interesting to me as a comparison, but no one could make me watch that movie again, so we couldn't do that.
I think I owe it one rewatch. A bad week to be a bad time to be watching Quentin Tarantino things, to be honest. But
that's very true. But you've mentioned 2 now on this pod,
and I don't even really like love those movies. Yeah.
Oh,
so I'm interested. Gabby, do you have any general murder mystery movies to recommend? Because I wanna. I forgot how much I loved mysteries as a kid. I would read so many mystery books, like kid mystery books. So I definitely I'm interested.
Like in movies or in books?
In movies, or yeah, either or, whichever works.
Well, I think definitely like. I love if you want to keep going dark and a little bit Catholic, a little religious. I would recommend Seven, the David Fincher
Seven.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
An amazing film, very very dark though.
Seven's been on the watch list for a long time.
I guess maybe like if you want to go old school, maybe like The Lady Vanishes is an old school murder mystery on a train.
Oh, okay.
From Alfred Hitchcock. Third Man is a good one. Mm-hmm. Is an old an old time one. Double Indemnity if you're feeling a little film noir.
Oh my god, I've tried to start Double Indemnity like twice and I just start too late at night.
What?
Too late at night. I'm sleepy. We know this.
Well, if you want to go on I'm sure you've seen. I don't know. I can't say that anymore about you.
Yeah.
Like if I'm sure you've seen something. I was gonna say Memento. If you want
I've
to
seen
hop
Memento.
on
yeah, but I haven't seen it in a long time.
Keep the Christopher Nolan vein. Okay.
Yeah.
Or you could just flip on another Netflix original murder mystery starring Adam Sandler called Murder Mystery. Hey, I stand by the first one. The first Adam Sandler murder mystery movie, very good.
That's him.
It takes place on a cruise ship.
Oh yeah, it's him and Jennifer Aniston, right?
Yeah.
Team. Yeah.
It's on like a luxury cruise ship. It's fun.
Okay, well, that's a lot of great recommendations. I'm excited to check some of them out. That's it for us today. If you're listening to us on audio, leave a review or comment. Don't forget to check out the video versions of these on YouTube at Back to the Future Pod. You can follow the podcast on Letterboxd at Back to the Pod and on Instagram at Back to the Future Pod. Next episode, Avatar: Fire and Ash, plus an Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey preview reaction. We're gonna be watching that. Gabby and I are seeing the movie Thursday, opening night. We're there for the Odyssey. We're there for probably the first Avengers Doomsday trailer. We're there for in-theater reaction of seeing the Supergirl trailer. So it's gonna be a big movie, and hopefully
busy pod.
Hopefully,
I don't really busy pod.
Burn up and turn into ash.
Don't worry, Evan. I'll watch you rise from those ashes.
There we go. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.